magic makers. Kelsey, your host of Find Your Magic here. So I want to let you in on a little behind the scenes secret that you might not know, which is that I actually record the introductions to each episode after I hang up with the person that I've interviewed. And the reason that I do that is because I want to be sure, A, that I know what's coming, I know what's about to be said, but that I can give you kind of an idea of what you're about to get into in each episode. And man, oh man, today is a good one. What a gift. Today I have my good friend, Emily Thomas on Find Your Magic. She teaches a no-fluff approach to mindset and what she calls business energetics, which I think is such an apt term for what she does. She's a business coach. She is an educator. She's the founder of the Live Your Light School, which is a course that is made to build self-trust. And she also is the CEO and the head designer of an incredible swimwear line called Sundari Swim, which is an eco-conscious, body-positive swimwear brand. And it's her mission in everything that she does to bridge the gap for individuals who are craving more fulfillment in their lives. And the thing that she really brings to the conversation today, which I'm so appreciative of, is both practical and spiritual tools to help us get out of our own way and consciously design the life we deserve and a life that we love. Living our gifts, sharing our gifts with the world, coming from that confident, aligned space where we know that we are doing the work we were put on this earth to do. We tell some amazing stories. Emily gives some incredible advice for really getting into your body, understanding what's going on for you energetically, why you may be attracting things that feel like old patterns or feel like they're not what you want, even if you are vocally saying that you want something different, where that gap might be between intention and reality. There's just so much good freaking stuff in here. So this one is for my hippie woo-woo curious magic makers. Welcome to Find Your Magic and say hello to Emily Thomas. Oh, my dear magic makers, do I have the treatiest of treats for you today. I have my friend Emily K. Thomas on Find Your Magic today. Emily, thank you so much for being here.
Oh my gosh, I love everything that you do. And it's just such an honor to be here and share the space. We connected so long ago and it was an immediate friendship. So anything I can do to support you and this beautiful new venture, I just feel really aligned to be here to support you.
Well, my goodness, I know that the Magic Maker community is just going to love everything that you stand for and everything you have to say, because the community that we're building here is, I like to think of these communities online as like a constantly evolving work of art. And we're all like contributing our different colors and we're all contributing our different viewpoints. And it's this constantly evolving thing. And you are absolutely like welcome to this community. And I know that everyone's just going to love what you have to contribute because you are such an amazing example to me of a multi-passionate, successful entrepreneur. And I think that that's something that gets kind of beaten out of us when we're trying to create something that is of meaning, that you can have different passions and be successful. Like you can touch multiple communities and be successful. So I'd love if you give the audience just a brief insight into the different things that you've been working on, that you're excited about, so that they can learn a little bit about you, but also know how to support you.
Awesome. Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for that gorgeous intro. I am flattered. There are just, I think what you said is really it's beautiful because I didn't realize that you witnessed that I do a bunch of different things. So, I mean, we met through the channel of spiritual guidance and, really my coaching world and your coaching world.
Mhm.
And I have my hands in a bunch of different pots right now. I've always have, because like you said, I'm a multifaceted, and we all are. And I think it's really important to touch on the fact that we have the ability to continue to do that as we grow. Like as I evolve, my interests change. But I think the most important piece is that we're grounded in ourself and our own truth. So to get to your answer, today my work is so deeply rooted in helping people extract their truest essence and apply that in their businesses, in their lives, in their relationships. And I do that through a couple of different ways. Through my aligned energetics business, which is all about aligning your unique energetic framework and applying that in your business framework to scale to 7, 8 figures. And then also through something completely different that most people wouldn't even put in the same category, but a swimwear brand that I have as well. That is all about really helping you identify and connect back to your body.
Mm.
And I also have a blog, travel and fashion and just everything that I love is all in this space, because I feel like when it's all coming from the things that produce so much joy within me, then I don't understand why they can't all come together. I think that they all can really blend in such a beautiful way. But I did battle with that for a while. I said, how can I be considered credible in this industry where I'm working with very, very successful high-level entrepreneurs while also talking about beauty products?
Right.
Those two don't go together. That's what was going on in my head. And I had that mental battle going back and forth for years until
Yeah.
finally, and it wasn't even until I want to say this past year, even when I was like, okay, I'm just going to make peace with it and I'm going to show up and do me. And whoever wants to be a part of that, come on, join the fun. But if somebody doesn't, then that's perfectly okay too. And I have to say that one of the biggest things that was the most awakening moments for me was having my second daughter. And she
Mm.
is this, I call her my awakener, because she was that person that was just, even when I was pregnant, it was like, think other all of this petty stuff doesn't matter. What does matter is being true to yourself. And so really every time I've been pregnant twice so far, it's been this really magnificent experience of really tapping into my intuition and an exercise of trusting that.
Yeah.
So I've birthed a lot of programs. I've birthed a lot of like really just elevating my own essence to become the mother that these children are asking of me. And through that, my work has been elevated and I've seen so many beautiful transformations in the swimwear brand and the coaching as well as the blog. And so I'm really excited about all three elements of the business now because it's the truest part of me.
Absolutely. And man, oh man, does that resonate with me, because even this very podcast that you guys are listening to right now or watching it, if you're watching on YouTube, I had so many people, you would be surprised, be like, wait, mental health and entrepreneurship? Don't
Yeah.
you just want to pick a lane? Like, don't you want to, like, you're either a mental health advocate and a mental health professional, or you are a business bish, right? Like you
Yeah.
are like, and it, like you said, for the people listening, you don't know, I touched my heart when she said, and this year I made peace with that.
Mm,
And because I think that an aspect of that phrase that we forget sometimes is the making part.
mm,
We
mm.
make peace, and making requires action, right?
Right.
Acceptance is a verb, like, or accept is a verb.
Accept it.
Acceptance is
Yeah.
technically a noun, but I mean, if we're going to get word nerdy, which is kind of my thing, we won't go grammar girl crazy here, but to accept
Yes.
your gifts, you have to accept and respect the gifts that you're meant to give the world before the world is going to accept and respect those gifts in return. And one thing that I love, Emily, that you have said, I literally wrote it down on my little notebook at the top here, that you give spiritual and practical tools to
Mhm.
consciously design a life you deserve. And I think that that is the essence of what I'm trying to do here. It's spiritual and practical. Yeah, we're going to give you some practical business advice, but we're also going to give you the spiritual tools to make sure that you don't burn out or that you don't
Right.
lose that spark of creativity and play and alignment. Like
Mm.
that is just as important, if not more so,
Right.
than however many, business strategy things you consume.
100%. And you hit on something really important here. And, rooted in this groundedness is so, so prevalent and powerful when you are really activating yourself and you're playing in this realm of spirituality. It's
Mhm.
also equally as important to be grounded in the present moment, because it can become very tempting to play off in the ethers and get stuck in the visualization of things and feel really, just out of your body.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to remember that we are in this human experience for a reason, and our time right now in the present is so important, and we can honor that by using these practical tools. So a lot of my work is rooted in the energetics, which is
Mm.
really in the fifth dimension where time and space really don't exist. But how does that help you or support you if I don't give you practical tools to actually root you into the action of creating a different vibrational experience? And the answer to that is through your own choice. We all have free will. We all have to make decisions on how we want to live our lives to establish different results that we want to see show up,
Yeah.
right? So we can always tell where we are vibrationally based off of the results that we're seeing in our life. So
Ooh,
let's say
I
if you
love that.
want
Say that again for the people in the back.
we can always a lot of people, this is not the most popular comment because I feel like a lot of people don't want to take responsibility for what's happening in their life,
Yeah.
but that's a key thing too. So what I said was that, you have to take responsibility for the vibrational state that you're at right now. And in order to shift that into a vibration that you want to receive different results and receive different outcomes in your life, you have to move and adjust things vibrationally. So that's really the energetic work that I do, is I help people understand where they are currently, where they want to be with their business or their relationship or their selves, and see how we can vibrationally shift that and move them into a different spectrum so that they're actually in alignment to receive those results that they're calling in. So what you're receiving right now is an energetic match for the vibration that you're currently at. So if
Mm.
you believe that you deserve $1 million and it's not in your bank account, then there's something off vibrationally for you. So it's going to take a little bit of course correcting, tweaking, and adjusting your current vibrational patterns to get you to where you will be a vibrational match for that $1 million, right?
Right.
So the big piece of the work that I do is really helping people understand where they are at, what their vibrational bandwidth is, and how to get them there.
Mm.
And what's so interesting is that so often we like to just patch up our business, patch up our relationships by doing these things that we're told we need to do. Like, for instance, if you are trying to have a 6-figure launch for your business, right? Oh, well, you need to work on this funnel and you need to work on this marketing language and the copy needs to look this way. No offense.
No, no, this
But
is what I preach too. So I'm right there with you. None
perfect.
taken.
100%. And I actually love your copy course. So I just have to say, you guys take her course if you haven't yet, because it does guide you to create from your own essence, which is so, so important.
Thank you.
And it's not just a template of like plug in this words. I love everything that you have in your course.
Thank you.
Um, so what I was going to say is that this is really important for you to understand that, yes, you can do the strategy and the tactics of shifting around the funnel or whatnot to try and get a better result. That could work, but it goes deeper. So if you're really wanting to hit deeper number or greater numbers in your financials to get to, 8, 9 figures even, then it really requires a deeper work within you. And a lot of times these correlations that we don't understand are actually directly correlated with our business. For
Mm.
instance, like the inner wounds of public speaking, or the wounds that are happening within your current relationship that you're in. Can you understand how, like, a relationship coach who's having really bad effective communication with their partner is going to give off a different vibrational state within the business structure? So it's not going to allow them to fully flourish and come through and be that powerhouse that they're wanting to be or are required to be. So it
Mhm.
really does require us to look at, what is going on for us internally and energetically, and how can we elevate that vibrational state and patch up these wounds. So, because when we are unlocking these levels of ourself, that's when our business really starts to take off. So
Absolutely.
it's really important to see that sometimes it's not even the funnel itself. It can be something what can look from the outside is not even related. And that aspect can actually unlock different levels of your business instantaneously.
Yeah.
So it's really beautiful to witness.
Yes, and I I love to say in moments like this, talking about subjects like this, the proof is in the pudding, like,
Yeah,
which is such a like old school thing to
I love
say,
it.
but I really like I can feel a few of you out there having that like fidgety skeptic going like, okay, I change my energy and
Mm,
I make $1 million. Like, yeah, okay, sure, guys. But let me just challenge you to examine why you might be feeling that fidgety skepticism. Is
mhm.
it perhaps because there might be a kernel of truth in there for you? And I say this with the utmost love and compassion for those of you out there feeling that like hint of intellectual person being like, I don't, the secret is bullshit,
Irrational.
which, and there is a difference. Like, let's be clear that there is a difference between somebody just saying they want something and not doing anything about it. What Emily's talking about is
Yes.
actually really vulnerable, deep, sometimes difficult, uncomfortable work with your shadow self, with maybe
Mhm.
some trauma that you might not have looked at in a really long time. I know for me, I'm going through some stuff where, you guys know if you've been listening since the beginning that I started this in the midst of a really intense breakup and big change in my life. And since then, I've really been trying to get in more into energetics, meditation.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, it is not fun sometimes. Like, it is not like you sit down to meditate and all of a sudden you're like this Buddhist monk who has this super clear mind and presence. Like, it takes repetition, it takes
Yeah.
bravery, it takes vulnerability, and it also takes a healthy a healthy, compassionate conversation with your inner skeptic, because your
Yeah.
inner skeptic is just trying to protect you. Your inner skeptic is just your fear going, I don't want to go in that room. I don't want to look at that part of myself. Maybe like this can't be true. So we're just going to keep going down, the path that's comfortable. Your inner
Mhm.
skeptic is just trying to protect you. You can thank her for her service, but let her know she's not needed right now.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much for saying that. And to everyone watching or listening, I was that skeptic for years. I would hear this kind of stuff and I would be like, major eye roll moment. Yeah, right. Uh-huh, sure. I came from the medical industry, in fact, where it's very scientific
I
based
didn't know
and
this.
Yeah, so I was in the medical industry for about 10 years. And I loved that profession because it was so scientific and I could have these high level conversations with physicians. I was in the, OR and instructing physicians on how to use equipment. And I loved it. I loved it. But I felt something within me was missing something, right?
Mm. How many of us can
Um,
identify with that moment?
yeah, yeah, and I couldn't pinpoint it, but I kept on getting these little tings. Like I had, Wayne Dyer things come in, or like, these little topics that would come up on the radio. I listened to a lot of NPR at the
Mhm.
time, and I would just have all these like beautiful little pings of Emily, like pay attention. Your intuition is guiding you a little bit further. And I would just
Yeah.
ignore it until one day I was like, you know what? I really should take a little break and really start listening to these signs coming through. And it was a combination of a couple of things that really led to a big burnout episode for me.
Mhm.
And it finally forced me to pay attention. And I'm not, maybe you had something similar, but I hear this story quite often where people just push and kind of ignore the signs and the signals. And because I would train my brain to power through, to be
Oof.
an
Yeah.
athlete, to be this person that didn't want to give up.
Oh,
I
yeah, huge.
I forced myself. I mean, being an actress and,
Mhm.
you have to have this sense of resilience and, all that. And I'm sure you can relate to in that form, right? Where it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
okay, I can push through. I can make it happen.
A white knuckle it and I'm going to wait this out. I can
100%.
handle this. Tough it out. All of the things you're saying. And I think that there's such a toxic thing in our culture.
Yeah.
It's like achievement culture where it's
Yeah.
like getting the gold medal, getting the straight
Yes.
A's, getting the 4.0, getting the high powered job title. Like we
Mhm.
are taught over and over and over again, consciously and subconsciously, to measure our lives by these signposts that really don't matter, that really don't
Right.
matter. And so when that is challenged, it not only feels like a challenge to our work, it feels like a challenge to our identity. Because I
100%. Mhm.
identified for the longest time of like, oh, I'm a successful actor, or I am a really good student. Whatever it is, it feels like a challenge to your identity. And it's confusing. It's
It's so
confusing.
confusing, and it's a mental, fuck, because
Yeah, you can
you kind of
swear
go
here.
you go through so much mental turmoil because you justify staying and you justify, oh, I made it this far. What would happen if I, decided to take a different route in my life, in my career, in my partnership?
And
And
the
it
guilt
takes
too of like, oh, I spent so much money, I spent so much time, I spent all this
right.
like all of this
Did I went to
investment.
college. Yeah, exactly. So deeply ingrained in our subconscious. And to break free of that and actually start embracing who we are meant to be versus what we're told we are is
Ooh.
it's really, really divine, but it's also requires an immense amount of courage, right?
Yes.
And so what I can say is that it is one of the hardest things that I've ever done in my life is to say goodbye to the known and leap into the unknown. But the rewards are endless because of
Yeah.
doing that.
In
So
every part of life.
100%, yeah. And it's like everybody gets a chance to, I mean, yes, it's twofold, right? Like you will feel uncomfortable. The mental friction that happens is it's severe, and I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I mean, the show
Mhm.
is about truth, right? So,
Right.
um, you know, but it's okay. You can handle it. And as you move through these emotions, and that's really key is moving through them versus avoiding them. I
Or
have
repressing, yes.
100%. Yep. And I have a course that I do that I teach about, helping people really feel through the emotions and see where it is in their body and and write out how it's making them feel in that moment, so that you're not repressing and avoiding and using alcohol, sex, whatever it is, shopping
Oh, girl,
to
the amount of like open
yeah,
carts I have right now, right? I like know it's an issue, and there it is. You hit the
there's
nail
a
on the head.
there's a difference
I
between
feel
doing it because it brings you joy or doing it because you're avoiding, right? And
yeah, but it's a
it
signpost. It's a
gets
it's
a
something to pay attention to. I think that's the point, right? Like
that's exactly
notice
it.
when you're doing these things rather than just mindlessly letting yourself like experience. You said something earlier that I was like, oh, that's a really good way of putting it. Something about like patching or band-aiding or like patching up the it's like you're patching up the ship, you're patching up all the holes in the ship, and eventually the ship is just going to be like, I'm out and burst, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah, and I think it's really important. I mean, if you have anybody of you are listening and really connecting to this message right now, like just know that you're not alone. When I
Oof,
went through it,
yeah.
I felt like I was super alone and I didn't have anyone to turn to because none of my friends, none of my family had done it. It was an uncharted territory. And I looked like it looked idiotic to
Mm,
them. So I did feel more alone and it felt very isolating. And I just have to say, like, reach out to people like Kelsey or myself, just to this community is built for you
yeah.
to grow and expand and really identify with who you are at the deepest level, because that's where you're going to thrive. That is
Mhm.
a sustainable success that will be that gift that keeps on giving. And when you operate from that space, that's when the world starts to shift and change, right? Everybody that you touch, if it's the person at the grocery store, if it's the person that's waiting on you at a restaurant, they can feel your energy that emanates out of you and you affect them. And it's this ripple effect where that goes into their life and they talk to their child differently. They talk, smile at the next customer in line. It's it's something so subtle, but it's so profound. So I always look back and say, okay, what did I learn from this experience? And
Mm.
the common thread from everything that I've gone through, building a service-based business, to having a sabbatical in Bali, meeting my husband, becoming a mom, all these elements, the common thread amongst all of that is energy. When I really focus on elevating my own energy, asking myself constantly, what is the energy I'm giving off right now? What is the
Mm.
energy I'm responding to this text message with? What
Ooh.
am I what am I
Literally, as we hear the look at that
right?
energy.
I know, right? And it's just it's everywhere, right? And like like that's not a
Perfect example.
coincidence.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Right? So it's just really important. So if you could take anything away from this conversation, it's how you can check in with yourself and identify with what the energy is that you are giving out.
Yeah.
What is that energy? And then the next level is, what is it that you really, really want? What is that intention that you want to receive and put out in the world, right? What is that intentionality? And narrow that down to one word, right? My
Ooh.
word right now is freedom. I really want to feel freedom. And if that's in my relationship, what does that look like? That
Mm.
means that I have the freedom to talk about whatever I want to talk about. I have the freedom to, do whatever I want to do. And within the framework of the respect of my communication with my husband, but I feel really free, right? And that really dials down into every element of my life, like how I create my systems with my business, how I create what days I do podcasting, what days I do my one-on-one coaching, what days I work with my mentor. I actually have a framework that makes me feel freedom and feel free, right? The essence of
Mhm.
free. Like, I want my clients to feel that too, right? I want them to
Mhm.
come to me and feel like they feel free. So the words that I use, the programs that I offer are all within the essence of that element, right? And
Mhm.
so I want you to take away something. I mean, Kels, what would you say right now, you can think about this further later down the line, but if you had to give me one word on like what you intentionally want to create, what would that be right now?
Surrender.
Ooh,
I
so
literally have it
surrender.
right over my desk right now. I have this prayer for surrender because what I'm working on energetically
Mm,
is what I realized is a need to control and a need to manipulate my outward experience to match what I think is my inner experience. And it never works. It
yeah.
never works. Trying to manipulate the people around you, the situation around you, controlling, um, it produces nothing but anxiety and some depression. I
Yeah.
also am like really surrendering in my body a lot. Something my therapist, you were talking about moving through things. Something my
Mm.
therapist said the other day was just like one of those, you know, how sometimes things just sound so freaking obvious, it's actually kind of annoying.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I've had so many of those. And it finally it
Right?
just hits right and it's like, okay, I got
Yeah,
it.
exactly. So I was telling her about I was in this social situation and I was feeling really uncomfortable and like I needed to control. And I was feeling a lot of shame about being single again and not knowing where I was going to live and being the age that I am. And I started to tear up and I was like, sorry, I don't mean to cry. Sorry. And I kept saying sorry and like welling up and pushing it down. And she was like, Kelsey, what if you just cried? Like, what would happen? What would happen? What if you surrendered to just freaking crying?
But
And I
yeah.
did. And I cried for about 3 minutes. And I felt so much lighter and so much better and came out of it being like, none of that matters. None of that
Mhm.
matters. And yeah. So, long story short, my word right now is surrender, giving it
That's
to the
so beautiful.
universe and really focusing on aligning that inner energy, making sure that what's going on in here is right and feels good
Mhm.
in my body and in my mind.
Yeah.
So that I can surrender the outcome because if the universe is taking care of it, the outcome is going to be so much better than anything my small mind could have come up with in my
Yes.
anxiety thoughts.
Right. That's beautiful that you've been able to witness that, right? That this has been going on for so long that it has become this subconscious behavior, right? And this pattern of believing that you needed to control things it
Yeah.
is deeply ingrained, right? So it's going to require this presence. It's going to require that awareness of, walking into a social situation. And you posted something the other day, and I was like, "Girl, I feel you," because I feel like as you become, and this is a whole nother topic, but as we become more of an empath, like it become like I'm so divinely sensitive,
Yeah.
that being in social situations, it creates a little bit of that anxiety for me
Yeah.
because I feel so much energy, right?
Yes.
And so I could feel you on that for sure. But it sounds like this word for you has a lot of depth, right? So it's not just about, okay, I'm going to give up and hand it over to the universe, because that's really abdicating responsibility for your
Right.
life, and that's really not what we're trying to do. What I think is really beautiful though is that you have the ability to ground into, okay, what can I control? And what
Mhm.
I can control is releasing these emotions, like you said, allowing the tears to finally releasing out of that belief that you needed to be a specific way. So that's how
Mhm.
surrender showed up for you in that moment. And I think that that is a beautiful example of how you can shift your energetic pattern into something that is more elevated, right? So you just gave us a perfect example of how vibrations can shift very quickly when you are actively making you're deciding on making a new pattern of choice that is going to remove this block for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just want to say too, it takes practice. It's not like I
Mm.
one day woke up and was like, my word is surrender and I need to stop controlling things. And everything started to work out for me. This is an ongoing process and you guys are along for the ride. But best believe I catch myself and I catch myself now much more easily. Like it's been a couple of months and now I'm quicker to pick up
Yeah.
on like, oop, I'm in my controlling thoughts or oop, I'm trying to force something here. Let's get back into the present. Let's get back into my body, back into the breath. Take a second, reset.
Yeah. And think about how exhausting that is, to where like you're literally holding the weight of the world on your
Yeah,
shoulders, Kelsey, like waiting to control every aspect of everyone around you. I mean, come on, that's exhausting.
it is exhausting.
So it probably feels, and you're probably leaking out so much energy that could be channeled into creating something really magnificent for yourself, right? So it's you're you're absolutely spot on the fact that it's a muscle that you have to exercise and grow, because it's not something that can happen overnight. But that awareness that you're already cultivating is driving a different behavioral pattern, which is shifting things for you,
Yeah,
which
I
is
mean,
really
literally
key.
the manifestation of this podcast, finally, this thing that's been
Hmm.
on my heart to do for 2.5, almost 3 years, that I put off for, I just don't think I was ready. I don't think I was ready to fully like step into myself and be as vulnerable and as open as I am and create. I, this is the perfect time for this to be happening. Things
Yeah.
happen in their own perfect time. And I don't think it's an accident that I was
Mm-mm.
moved to start releasing and creating this podcast after I'd started doing this work of surrender.
I completely agree. And it feels really, really aligned for you and aligned for your audience, because people need where you're at right now. They need to connect to this version of Kelsey. And the work you're doing isn't fluffy. It's real. It cuts to the core. It cuts really deep into the heart center. And it's something that a lot of people are afraid to even navigate, right?
Sure.
So what you're doing is really important work. And without going too far into the specifics of it, but I almost want to say that I think the breakup was required to kind of crack you open,
Yeah.
to allow this essence of yourself to be shown, right?
Yeah,
And it's a beautiful thing. It's a
it
beautiful
is. I'm
thing.
so grateful for it,
Not
honestly.
for the breakup. I'm not going to even say that because I don't know any detail of it, but I'm just saying it's a beautiful thing to watch you really bloom.
Thank you.
And that essence of blooming for you is also helping everybody else come out of their shell. You're offering permission for others to do the same, and it's only going to beget more growth and expansion for everybody that you touch. So thank you for
Thank
doing
you.
what you do.
Thank you for saying all of that and feeling all of that. I feel it over here on my side, and I just am so grateful that you are in my life, that you came into this community, and for your words of wisdom. My goodness, just nothing but gratitude for you, girl.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I think what one of the main things that I think is really important is, and this is really, I hate talking about like, oh, this is my work, but one of the most important things that we can do for ourselves is really understand who we are at soul level.
Yeah.
We all have so many different gifts to offer. We have a variety of gifts that we have, right? But there are a few that are really specific to us. And how we use those in the world is really how we can step into our divine expression. And what does that mean? Is that a bunch of jumbo jargon? No, it's actually you aligning to who you are. Who is your truth, right? What is that person inside of you asking you to do? Is it sing? Is it act? Is it teach? Is it be a creative, who makes pottery at home? What is that thing that you feel called to do? Lean into that. Now, when I use energetics to understand who you are at soul level, I can pull and extract and give you information, which is very validating for understanding who you are. But again, to ground into the practical aspect of it, I help you understand how to utilize that in your business, in your relationship, in how you are doing life, right?
Mm.
So I think so often, and this is the old Emily where I was always focused on the end goal, on like how I can get to, so and so followers,
Mhm.
and how many people in on my email list, and how many back in the sales day, how can I beat my quota and make rep of the year and all of that kind of stuff. And the real important thing is how you do every moment, how you do every day.
Mhm.
And what is that energy that you're cultivating as you do life, right? And when you express who you are at soul level through those moments, you can't go wrong. And as a byproduct, you start attracting more abundance, people that are your people.
And
You
it's so
know,
much more fun. It's
yes,
so much more fun, you guys.
so
You'll
much
know
more
it when you
fun.
feel it too. Like if you're
Yes.
hearing this and going like, yeah, but how do I know who I am? First of all, like work with Emily, give her a call, shoot her a DM, but also like pay attention to magic. I mean, this whole thing is called Find Your Magic. That's exactly what it is. It's just leaning into those little moments, those little signposts of intuition, those little flutters, those little whispers. And it sounds, again, trite but true. You know it when you feel it. When you're doing
Yeah.
work that's super aligned with who you are at a soul level,
Mm.
you almost don't even notice. Like you
It's
are in that inflow thing that we've heard before, right? Like
right.
you know it when you feel it.
Have you seen that movie Soul?
Yes.
Have-
Oh my
oh,
gosh. I have a really amazing story about that, actually, about that movie, which maybe I
go
should
ahead.
just tell it.
Yeah, yeah, share.
So, okay. So, because I feel like this is the conversation in which to tell this story, I hesitate to tell it because sometimes I'm like, oh, people are going to think I'm so weird, hippie woo woo. But here we are holding space, love, and compassion. So, I was fresh off my breakup. I think even in the middle of like the talks of are we going to do this or are we not?
Uh,
And I was doing this meditation kind of like program. And one of the moments was about asking for signs.
mm,
And again, I was really trying to surrender and just let things come to me instead of controlling. And the sign, I was like, okay, God. And I kind of was like rolling my eyes. I was like, okay, God, okay, universe, like, what's going to be my sign? And like that I'm on the right path. Like, sure, like tell me what the freaking sign is. And out of nowhere, a voice that was not my own in my head said, trumpets. No
whoa.
idea why. No idea why. I just pictured like it's got to be so freaking loud that I cannot ignore it. It's like a band of trumpets.
Yes.
Later that night, I am with my mom and the dog, and we're trying to decide what to watch. And I go, that movie Soul, like, I don't really know anything about it, but that sounds like a nice, fluffy thing I'm not going to have to think about. Like, we'll just watch it. We turn it on. And in the movie, if you've seen it, there's this sweet little girl who is so passionate about her trombone. And I go, well, that's not a trumpet, it's a trombone, but it's like really close to a trumpet. So is it my sign? Is it not my sign? I don't know,
Right.
whatever. I go to sleep. The next morning I wake up and I'm moved to say, look up the meaning of trombone. Why the hell I had that thought? Totally inexplicable. I
Right,
go
right,
to the
right.
computer, I type into Google, okay, the meaning of trombone. Enter. I kid you not. The meaning of trombone says trombones are often referred to as the voice of God. If you
Oh
type that
my.
into Google, spiritual meaning of trombone, it comes up. Trombones are often referred to as the voice of God. And if
Oh
that
my
isn't
goodness.
a blinking fucking neon sign that I am on the right path, I don't know what is.
My gosh. That is incredible.
Isn't it?
Wow. Wow. You give me the chills, honestly. And that movie, it's like all of the synchronicities of that is just so beautifully
Yeah. And if you
orchestrated.
watch the movie, it's like extra crazy. So,
Right.
so many
Wow,
layers.
Kels, that is beautiful. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, I mean, if you got your sign, girl. And
Sure
I
did.
think and I think that's sometimes what we have to do as skeptics. And I've been there many, many times where I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I believe this. I don't, you know, and then every single time that I've asked for a sign, it shows up loud and clear. And sometimes it's, you know, subtle, but sometimes it's like your story where I'm like, holy crap. And
I
I'm just
know.
like, I'm shocked to the point where I have to like share it with my husband. I had something similar with a yellow balloon,
Mm,
similar, different, like things that you can't even think of.
you can't put them
But
in your rational mind because that's not where they come from.
right, that's right. So, I mean, if you ever needed confirmation that you're on track, girl, you have received it. So
All the
that's really
trombones.
beautiful. That's so beautiful. And you know, just to kind of full circle, that whole movie is about being in flow. And I like to think of, you know, somebody who's playing an instrument, right? That just like that jazz, that real jazz, that they get into the flow of the music where it lets their mind just stop thinking, right? And that's really where you get to be when you're in flow and in your divine expression. And you are the creator of your own experience. So you get to be there, but nobody else can tell you really where that is unless you start to explore it for yourself, right? So it's really fun. It's really, really exciting work that you're getting into, Kelsey, because I feel like without the ties to something else, now you get to explore exactly what you want and kind of peel back the layers of how you get to show up in the world. And this elevation of you is going to attract different results in your life, which is going to be really beautiful to witness.
Thank you. I'm excited.
You should
I'm
be excited.
excited. It's
You
so
should
true though.
be.
I mean, yeah, it's full circle to what Emily was saying, like understanding who you are, getting to that soul level, doing the work, getting vulnerable, feeling the feelings in your body and your brain and your heart, doing that work so that you can be the outward expression of the true inner you. It
Mhm.
makes life so much more fun. Why
Yes.
not? Why
Yes.
not try to make your life more aligned and fun and full of joy and magic?
100%. Yeah. And I think there's such buzz around mindset, you know, which is
Sure.
really, really important. Um, but mindset can only, I have a client that yesterday, she's like, mindset got me to multiple six figures, but you need something deeper to get you above that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the energetics where it's patching up different blind spots and different episodes and different experiences in your past that have really framed you into this sense of who you are being and acting from, which a lot of times we don't even realize. Like a lot of it's in our subconscious that we really need to work on and patch up. And I do a lot of that clearing work for people too. But it's really important to recognize that, okay, we are energetic beings. Everything around us is a vibration, right? Everything is vibrating on a molecular level. So if we want to attune ourselves to the vibration of what we want, we need to do some work energetically, also with our mind, right? Our 4D is really the mind, the thoughts, but the fifth dimension is really the energetics. So it's so important. And the way that we can shift our vibrational state is through aligned choice and action. So again, just to use you as an example, it's really activating and starting this podcast, right? Not from a place of obligation, because when you operate from a place of obligation, again, this is kind of going back to what I said before, is really check in with yourself and see what the energy is that you are giving out. Because if it's from a place of obligation or if it's from a place of scarcity, it's only
Mm.
going to beget more of that type energy type. So why I said that your energy of the show is really, really beautiful and light and open, it's because you came in and I could tell that you've really done the work on really expressing through the heart space. And you know, your divinity of showing up and saying, okay, this is really how thought I was gonna, you know, put my work out into the world. And I think my internet is
No,
unstable.
you're good. You're good. It froze
Can you
there
hear
for
me?
a second, but
Okay.
I could hear everything you were
Okay.
saying.
Okay. But it does come from your heart center. And I think that when you are emanating from that space, actually I know that from that space, that people can feel that, right? So like your energy speaks louder than your voice, it speaks louder than your actions. So show up, work on your energy, make sure that you are intentional with every amount of energy that you want to put out there, and you'll be good to go.
I love that so much. And Emily, you've just been spouting so much wisdom this entire time. Where can people find you? I think you shared that they can have a free 15-minute session with you. So where can people go to get that?
Yeah. So, okay, I have two spots. I hang out on Instagram all the time. My handle is at It's Emily Thomas, and my website, which is emilykthomas.com. Um, and, you know, I will offer, if you mention this episode,
Mhm.
I will offer 30% off your first session with me.
Thank
And
you. Wow, that's so generous. Wow.
yeah, and sometimes it's actually most of the time it's really only one session that you actually need, because we go into your divine framework and help you understand who you are. I do some patch up work for the blocks and restrictions that have showed up and are playing out in your life, and you will feel, I've been told, completely different after that experience. And I give you some clearing homework to help you maintain that vibrational state, which will attract what you're intentionally trying to seek. Okay.
I love that so much. Emily, thank you so much for being here. This is such a powerful conversation. I'm the one having it, and I know I'm going to go back and re-listen to it like 5 times. So thank you so, so much for being here on Find Your Magic.
Thank you for having me. It's always a joy to be around you. Thank you so much.
If you made it to the end of this episode, it means you're truly committed to inviting more magic into your life. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to Find Your Magic on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to this stuff. Each review truly means so much. Thanks for being here. Now go out there and find your magic.